What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and a bit of Star Wars news broke over the weekend, including blaming the fans for having the Game of Thrones showrunners leave the Star Wars universe, calling the fans toxic, and a new kind of toxic fan, I suppose you would call it, emerges as Anthony Daniels dares to have an opinion. You know, the actor that plays C3PO, he's not allowed to have an opinion on the new series, the new trilogy of Star Wars, and this new fandom. I want to take a minute to discuss as a casual Star Wars fan. You know, I'm not a mega collector of Star Wars memorabilia. I'm not a first day opening showing of Star Wars viewer, but I know that many of my viewers are, and oftentimes I do have to take up a cause that maybe isn't a huge impact on my life, but I know that my viewers find it important. And so I find myself knowing more about different things, and I enjoy that as it pushes me to understand different fandoms and represent them when I can, and that's what I'm going to try to do here with the original fandom of Star Wars. I started thinking about this concept of the new fan, N-U-F-A-N, of Star Wars. The type of fan that you recruit when you're talking about, you know, toxic masculinity, or you're talking about representation in film. You're recruiting a very specific group of people, a group of people that I find to be the ones that are often referring to original fandoms as toxic. These are the same type of people that will refer to gamers as toxic or entitled. These are the same type of people that lashed out at people for laughing at Terminator Dark Fate's wokeness. Or these are the same type of people that you recruit when you do something like Ghostbusters 2016 Woman Edition, and the movie is not only terrible, but you're also pandering to the type of people that want to hear that type of message. These are the exact type of people that Star Wars media has been recruiting online. Now, I want to differentiate between who Star Wars wants, the Mouse House, paying to see their movies, and who the media seems to pander to. Because it's the media that continues to pander to this woke fandom, the same fandom that is ruining comic books, the same fandom that has a strong opinion and a boycott every single day, even though they don't buy the books. They don't pay to see the movies. Where are all your woman power ticket goers this weekend? Remember when the director of Terminator Dark Fate said that the strong female character would scare the curse word out of closet misogynists? Pandering to, of course, likes and retweets on Twitter. Where are all the people saying "Yas, Slay Queen" when the film is set to lose $100 million? The same people that are constantly making demands of comic books. We need more of this. We need less of that. We need more of this. And we need less of that. And those books that pander to those people sell copies in record lows. And they are more effective, in my opinion, at ruining existing franchises than they ever are at creating their own. This is what these parasites, and make no mistake about it, they are fandom parasites. They move in, they extract money and clout, and they move on, leaving a broken shell of whatever that fandom is in their wake. It's happened in board gaming, it's happened in comic books, it's happened in video games, it's happened in trading card games, it's happening in movies. It's undeniable that their effect on whatever it is that they're anywhere near is an absolute net negative. Not one thing is improved by these type of people, and this is exactly who these media people are recruiting. This is your new fan, NU. They're not really a fan of anything. They don't get off their greasy butts to go see movies. They don't get up and go down and support their local card shop. They don't get up and go down and support their local comic book shop. They sit at home with their 12 to 14 roommates, 2 ferrets, and a cat in a studio apartment and share a bottle of cheap wine and some ramen noodles on $900 phones, talking about how trash everything in the world is and how everything needs to change because reasons. Now, you talk about articles, which we talked about last week, Star Wars losing D.B. Weiss, showrunners from original Game of Thrones, David Beinhoff and D.B. Weiss, for a variety of reasons. Now, they're downplaying it, but there wasn't 250 million reasons for these gentlemen to leave the Star Wars universe. They told Disney that they could do both. Disney didn't believe that they could do both, and so they just better dealed them. Got a $250 million deal with Netflix, probably have a lot more creative freedom, probably don't have, Kathleen Kennedy breathing down their neck, or have to work with people like Ryan Roundhead Johnson or things of that nature. So I don't blame them for going off to Netflix, but there's a lot of quotes from these two circling around the quote toxic fandom. And I believe it is not in fact the old fans as these people constantly try to project. See, a lot of times with these purple-haired geniuses, they're often projecting their own inaccuracies or fallacies or shortcomings on other people. And in fact, these are the toxic ones. And maybe these are the people that these two gentlemen were talking about. I mean, for years, Game of Thrones was the biggest TV show in the world, accumulating millions of passionate fans from around the world. Since the debut of the series' final season, those passions for some fans turned into anger, which viewers were happy to share with all across social media. In the months since the final episode of the series aired, Beinhoff and Weiss have avoided making public appearances related to the show, which includes canceling their planned appearance at San Diego Comic-Con, with their discussion during a panel over the weekend resulting in them, quote, earning even more hatred hurled their way. Who wants to go through that? Not them, one source told the outlet. This was the life's too short category. Well, yeah, I guess you have $250 million. It's like one heck of a golden parachute. Among the various pop culture fandoms, a very vocal minority of the Star Wars fans are considered to be some of the most hateful, a trend which dates back decades. Actually, I don't think that's the case. I think that's relatively new. I think that this is the new fan that the Star Wars media has been recruiting because they themselves are toxic and they want more people like that around them because crabs in a bucket. After a 15-year wait and the end of the original trilogy, Star Wars Phantom Menace landed in theaters, immediately sparked backlash against creator George Lucas for decisions he made with the film. The backlash could continue with each subsequent film, with some fans still being quick to express their anger about the film years later. So? I mean, that's reasonable, right? I mean, it's of course, fandoms are passionate. And when they're passionate about disagreeing, that's what you call toxic. We call passionate. In their official statement announcing the departure from the planned films, the pair cited their busy schedule was a motivating factor, though this new report hinted that multiple factors, including a toxic fandom, contributed to the decision. I mean, who wants to deal with people constantly whining about people's personal, physical characteristics over whether or not the show is actually good? Well, now we have Anthony Daniels coming out and revealing his, quote, disappointment with the new films. Now, Anthony Daniels, of course, the actor that plays C3PO, is original trilogy talent and been around for many years. There's been a huge disturbance in the Force. Not since the dodgy days of a certain Gungeon has the fandom been so divided or angry. Huge numbers protested the divisive plot lines and the ending of The Last Jedi. Well, it was, objectively bad for some people. Major stars like Luke Hamill are popularly believed to be equally unhappy. Luke Hamill? You mean Mark Hamill? Jeez. This is what I mean. You end up with this quality of reporting. These are the people writing about Star Wars this day. No wonder the fandom doesn't like it. Express Online sat down with Anthony Daniels to chat about his new book, I Am C3PO. We had to ask him about the backlash and what he thinks about The Last Jedi. The actor says, well, yes, I do understand why fans are unhappy. Uh-oh. An actor on the film understanding fans, this isn't going to end well. It speaks to devotion that they care so much that they mind if someone messes with it. I understand people being critical of the films. He has remained fairly silent, while stars like Mark Hamill have dropped loaded comments online and in interviews. Daniel said, I know I know it's been particularly difficult for him, Hamill, lately because the new movies haven't given him much to do. I certainly recognize that he can relate to it. In these new movies, I felt like a table decoration, and that's difficult because I recognize this character, C3PO, is worth so much more, but I understand it's the whole film and it's not a feature about C3PO. So, a totally reasonable answer by an old white guy. What could possibly go wrong? It's just my personal disappointment. I get paid whether or not he does anything, but it would be nice for him to have a purpose. Oh, what an awful thing to say. What a terribly awful thing to say. So divisive, so toxic. Well, Data Racer does it again at Data Racer 117. If you like pop culture, media, and news, I highly recommend following him on Twitter, as he has put together some of the reaction to the original article. We have Jenny Nicholson, an influencer from what I understand for Star Wars. Excuse my 2 cents, but if old actors can't play ball about not being the main character, then they should leave the ball and go home. I can't wait for Ben to end that golden boomer. Also, here's another certified checkmark. Also, this is a subtweet, but maybe don't put any stock in what Anthony Daniels says about his co-stars, particularly when those comments are in the Daily Express. Here's another blue checkmark, Lindsay Romaine. People were mad at me when I said this, but I was right. And what is she quoting? I hope 3PO dies. Here's John Ish. C3PO was always a side character and the most forgettable in the OG trilogy. Absolutely, unequivocally incorrect. C3PO is one of easily the most memorable characters. Are you kidding me? C3PO and R2-D2 are some of the most beloved characters in the franchise. Now, of course, they were never like front and center, right? But everybody knows. If you take a picture of C3PO and you show it to people who've probably never even seen a Star Wars movie, they're going to know who C3PO is. You know, is Princess Leia bigger? Sure, but nobody here is saying C3PO is bigger than everybody. But the act to say that he's forgettable is a new fan, in my opinion. I can't wait for C3PO to get cooked. I hope C3PO dies. I don't like robots that talk. I honestly didn't even know Anthony Daniels was still alive. I mean, I definitely want him to die now and stay dead out of spite. That's how the new fandom reacts. Is there anybody who actually likes C3PO even in the original movies? Way to out yourself as somebody who's never watched them. He was only there because George Lucas didn't have the balls or the ambition to just have R2-D2 on his own be like beep, beep, beep for the first 30 minutes of A New Hope. No, that's also incorrect. And they go on and on. Every time Anthony Daniels talks, I care less and less. It's time to stop feeling bad for this bullying Anthony Daniels for his cryptic tweets. Anthony Daniels realizing he's never been the main character in 42 years of the Star Wars film. Again, to remind you, Anthony Daniels' inflammatory statement was as follows. Yes, I do understand why fans are unhappy. It speaks to a devotion that they care so much that they mind if someone messes with it. In the new movies, I felt like a table decoration, and that's difficult because I recognize the character C3PO as worth so much more. But I understand it's a whole film and not a feature about C3PO. Anthony Daniels, I'm upset 3PO isn't more important. Literally every Star Wars character when C3PO speaks, shut up C3PO. Also, not true. And also remember that 3PO is also a bit of comedic relief and a beloved character. Let's go on ignoring original trilogy cast and bad men, y'all. Please bring peace back to my timeline. It goes on and on and on. See, remember when everybody talked about Kelly Marie Tran enduring all of this meanness online, but never provided any screenshots, never provided any evidence. It was just the narrative that was floated out there and accepted. But every time I can pull hundreds, maybe thousands of tweets that are just full of bile and anger about a man who is a legend who simply said, hey, it would be cool if C3PO did a little bit more in the movie. So? Literally every actor ever would probably agree with that of any role they've ever played. So in what world is this a bad comment? The real toxic fandom is the new fan, cultivated by media and fake outrage, fake harassment campaigns, and all sorts of other ridiculousness that's leading to the demise of the franchise. Imagine a day when up-and-coming directors, well, you could say they're established showrunners, the ones from Game of Thrones in this case, would turn down a Star Wars opportunity. Imagine a world where anybody would turn down being a part of Star Wars and now look at it happening left, right, and center and ask yourself if Disney has done good for the Star Wars franchise or not. Star Wars fans, real fans, deserve so much better than this, and it's disgusting to see them continue to be smeared by the media when it's the very people that they prop up that are the most toxic and vile of them all. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.